This is called Why Abel is Retiring the Weekend. So let's go ahead and get to it. Yo, this dude can sing without the auto tune. Like he just got a good voice, man. Man, just that's just raw vocals.
Before the fame, before the Grammys, and before the sold-out stadiums, there was just Abel Tesfaye, an Ethiopian-Canadian kid from Scarborough, Toronto, growing up in a home filled with Amharic prayers and the sounds of Ethiopian...
Damn, why you gotta say that? You said Ethiopian Toronto. You heard that? Just say he's from Toronto.
Sold-out stadiums. There was just Abel Tesfaye, an Ethiopian-Canadian kid from Scarborough, Toronto, growing up in a home filled with Amharic prayers and the sounds of Ethiopian culture. But his childhood was far from perfect, raised by his mother and grandmother, abandoned by his father. Without a father figure...
Wait, is he really? Oh shit, I sound like a dick now. My bad. My bad. You know what I'm saying? I was just saying they should have just said, hey, he's from Toronto. But they went in full detail. All right, let's go. Let's keep going.
He found escape in television, music, and eventually, drugs. By 11 years old, he was already smoking weed. By 16, his life revolved around cocaine, ecstasy, and ketamine. And by 17, he vowed, if I don't make it, I'll end it all. And so he left home, dropped out of high school, disappeared that weekend, and never looked back. And with that, the Weeknd was born.
Okay. Sounds like he's trying to clean up his image more.
He and his best friend left home with just a mattress and a vision, living in a small, crammed one-bedroom apartment in Parkdale, Toronto, where stealing to survive...
That's why he got them crazy imageries and stuff, and his music is be so trippy.
Experimenting with drugs became his new reality. Broke, homeless, and addicted, Abel bounced from one couch to another. But somewhere in that haze, a sound was forming. Something raw, dark, and brutally honest.
Wow.
In 2010, he met Jeremy Rose, a producer who helped shape his early sound. Together they created What You Need, The Morning, and Loft Music. No face, no identity, just music.
And this is what made him so cool, very mysterious, because like you had such a good voice, but you didn't know who was behind it, right? And so it literally made him like set him on fire, where people was like, who is this dude? Who is this dude? Because it was so mysterious. They didn't see his face. They just, all they heard was just the vocals and just good music, right?
Weeknd's mysterious uploads of What You Need, Loft Music, and The Morning caught fire. The raw, haunting sound of dark R&B was something the industry had never seen before. It was seductive, intoxicating, and painfully honest. R&B soaked in drugs, sex, and heartbreak. And while the world was still figuring out who he was, one person took notice: Drake. Drake featured The Weeknd songs on his OVO blog and even flew him out to collaborate on Take Care, an album that skyrocketed both of their careers. Drake wanted The Weeknd to sign with OVO Sound, but Abel refused. Instead, he gifted Drake a handful of songs.
I mean, that was great foresight for The Weeknd, though. That was great foresight, because if you knew that one of the biggest artists, who was on the up and rise, becoming like a huge superstar, Drake, and you see like, oh, okay, if this got his attention, then I know that there's something I could do here, and I can get more on the table. Because if I sign with the artist, I might not get as much as if I just go directly to a label to ask for a certain directness, right? Like Drake probably only can get him so much. Like, yes, he'll explode, right? He'll explode and get a lot of reach with Drake, but then he's inclined to not. He wouldn't be able to quote unquote do his things on his own terms if he quote unquote goes with the record label. Like, so he was like, yo, let me just give you these things that I got over here in the tuck, and we'll just work on like this, and I still get my exposure, and we still benefit from each other and make cool music. But I want to kind of like go over here.
including tracks that would become hits like Crew Love and Shot for Me. Looking back, Abel says he gave up nearly half of his album because he didn't want to be under another artist and that he knew he'd be as successful. Then 2000.
See, foresight right there. He said he gave up half of his album, bro. Half of his album. You know what I'm saying?
2011, House of Balloons drops. It wasn't just an album, it was an experience. A nightmarish trip into drug addiction, toxic relationships, and self-destruction. The Weeknd wasn't just making music, he was documenting his own life in real time, and people couldn't get enough. From The Hills to Wicked Games, he painted himself as the villain, the addict, the womanizer, the emotionally numb anti-hero. And if you find asking yourself why was he so relatable, the simple answer, it was real. The Weeknd didn't glamorize the lifestyle, he confessed to it. He wasn't selling fantasy, he was exposing his own reality. Beauty behind the madness, Starboy, After Hours. He crafted hit after hit, Can't Feel My Face, The Hills, Blinding Lights. On the surface, a glossy pop superstar, but underneath, he's Abel. The Weeknd kept evolving. The masterpiece that was After Hours wasn't just an album, it was a psychological thriller. Vegas wasn't just a city, it was a metaphor trapped in fame. The Weeknd wasn't just heartbroken, he was lost in a loop trying to escape but always falling back. And the real meaning behind Blinding Lights were not romance nor drugs. The outro of the previous song Faith tells us those lights are from an ambulance, where he overdosed and the sirens are the last thing he sees. But as all great stories go, every era must come to an end. For over a decade, Abel Tesfaye has lived in the shadows of the Weeknd. A name, like no other, an escape, a mask to hide the pain, the addiction, the loneliness. We saw him rise from the underground, embracing the darkness in House of Balloons. We watched him reach for the stars, shining brighter with Starboy. And we felt his desperation to escape in After Hours. But as time passed, so did the need for the character he created. For years, he was trapped in this loop, a cycle of fame, heartbreak, excess, and reinvention. A cycle that, deep down, he always knew had an expiration date. And now, it's time to let go, shedding the skin of the character that defined him. No more tragic heartbreaks, no more masks, no more running, because for the first time in his career, Abel Tesfaye doesn't need the Weeknd to survive. The Weeknd may be coming to an end, but his legacy will forever live on.
Okay, well, I don't know what I got from that. All I know is that the Weeknd decided, hey, I don't want to do this no more. I'm changing my name, and also what's associated with this name is probably tied to that record label. So I'm changing my identity and going with something else different so I can be able to start my own stuff. That's what it sounds like. I think that, like I said, him probably soon going on his own independence route. He probably don't want anything ties with that record, the Weeknd name. Also, just the whole imagery of it as well. But I'm sure that too. But it had to be with some business decisions too. Like he ain't just that name itself was worth a lot, right? So I think that it's more of a business decision, not just him just want to get rid of the name just to get rid of the name. Like there's some things that strategy wise, like the dude is really smart. Like to even decline, who would not want to sign with Drake? Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to sign with Drake at that time when Drake was like big? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Take Care and Nothing Was the Same. That like that era, right? Around that era, like if you was given the opportunity to sign with them at that time, heck yeah, right? So the fact that he had foresight ahead of time to say, you know what, I'm not gonna sign to you, but I'll give you these things that's on my album, give them to you to work with you, just so I can stay alone and kind of like get on my own terms to where I can find a platform of a label to work with, to so I can be able to make sure I can execute my vision. The dude is really smart in how he just moved business wise. So yeah, man, that was cool. Anyways, see y'all in the next one.